Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're skipping the crazy price charts and all the hype. We're going under the hood to see what's actually being built in crypto, layer by layer, from digital gems all the way down to the invisible code that makes it all work.
You know, for a lot of people, crypto is just this, a blur of charts going up and down. But beneath all that noise, something much more interesting is taking shape. It's a whole multi-layered digital economy with some really distinct and fascinating parts.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start our journey with stuff that's tangible, things you could almost reach out and touch, and from there, we'll work our way up to the really complex digital plumbing that makes this entire system tick.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around this, we're going to need a good analogy. So let's think about the whole thing like we're building a brand new digital city. This idea is going to be our guide as we see how each layer connects to the next.
So picture our journey like this. We're going to start with one single physical thing, like a precious gem in a museum. Then, we're going to zoom out and look at the whole platform that manages all the different objects in the city. And finally, we'll go even deeper to look at the invisible systems, the city's plumbing that lets everything actually run. See? Each layer builds right on top of the last one.
So, let's begin at street level with Layer 1. This is probably the most straightforward concept to grasp. We're talking about taking a physical, real-world object and turning it into a tradable digital token. And there's a term for this you're going to hear a lot, real-world asset, or RWA. Honestly, this concept is one of the biggest and most powerful stories driving the whole crypto space right now. The goal is to build a seamless bridge between the physical and digital worlds.
A perfect example of an RWA in action is a project called Verified Emeralds, or VERM. Their whole idea is to take something that's traditionally really hard to trade, like a certified emerald, and bring it onto the blockchain, making it totally transparent and easy to buy or sell.
Now, this is a really important distinction to make. When you buy a VRM token, you're not buying one specific emerald that you can go pull out of a vault somewhere. What you're actually buying is a share in the entire ecosystem, a governance token that gives you a vote in how the whole project is run. And this model brings up some pretty unique challenges for Layer 1. The risks here aren't just about code. They are tied directly to the messy physical world. I mean, what happens if someone robs the vault where the gems are kept? Or how do you price something that isn't sold every day like gold? These are the tough questions this layer has to figure out.
Look, tokenizing a single niche asset like an emerald is a fascinating experiment. But what if you want to think bigger? What if you want to build a system that can handle, well, any kind of asset? And that question takes us perfectly to our next layer, which is where we go from tokenizing one thing to building an entire platform for everything. A great case study here is a project called Centrifuge.
Let's go back to our city analogy for a sec. If VEREM is like putting a single priceless sculpture in the city museum on the blockchain, then Centrifuge is like building the entire platform that lets developers finance and build all the real estate in the whole city. It's just a massive leap in scale. So how does it all work? Well, Centrifuge built this really clever three-step pipeline. First, businesses can tokenize real assets, anything from unpaid invoices to mortgages. Second, those individual tokens get bundled together into big investment pools, which helps spread out the risk. And third, these pools get plugged into the bigger world of decentralized finance, or DeFi, which unlocks all kinds of new funding. And hey, this isn't just a cool idea on a whiteboard. The scale here is pretty staggering. Centrifuge recently blew past $1 billion in total value locked on its platform. That's not just retail hype, that's a sign of real institutional adoption. But all this explosive growth creates a brand new, massive problem. When you have thousands of different assets from dozens of different platforms all being tokenized at once, suddenly you've got a digital traffic jam. How do you make sure all these separate systems can talk to each other without causing a citywide gridlock? And that question brings us to our third and deepest layer, the invisible infrastructure that keeps our whole digital city running smoothly. And this is where projects like Espresso come in. In our city analogy, Espresso isn't a building you can see or a platform you can use. It's the essential plumbing. It's the highways, the power grid, the cell towers, all the stuff that connects everything, but that most people never even think about. It's the invisible foundation. So Espresso's main goal is to solve this huge fragmentation problem. You have all these different blockchains called rollups that are basically operating in their own little worlds. Espresso wants to be the universal traffic controller for all of them, a shared sequencer that lets them communicate and agree on transactions super fast, creating one big unified ecosystem.
And this space is moving incredibly fast. Projects like Espresso are hitting huge milestones. They're launching their own tokens, airdropping them to the community, and getting listed on major exchanges. These are all signs that this foundational layer is really starting to mature.
Okay, so we've looked at three totally different layers: the tangible asset, the asset platform, and the digital infrastructure. Now, let's pull back for a second and try to build a framework that helps us make sense of it all.
So here's the key point of this whole framework. Even though these projects are completely different, we're talking assets, platforms, and plumbing, we can actually judge them all using the same fundamental questions. 1. What exact problem are they solving? 2. What's the real purpose of their token? And 3. What is the single biggest risk that could make the whole thing fall apart? This brings us to what's probably the most important question of all. As this new digital city gets built, layer by layer, where is the real lasting value actually going to come from?
You know, at the end of the day, every single project in this space, it doesn't matter what layer it's on, faces the same fundamental battle. Its long-term value is going to be decided by a tug-of-war between these two things: pure hype and speculation on one side, and genuine, real-world utility on the other. Does it solve a real problem? Can it get people to actually use it? That is the billion-dollar question.
And so I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. As this whole digital economy grows up, is the most enduring value going to be in the tangible things themselves, the platforms that organize them, or the invisible plumbing that connects them all? The answer to that is going to define the next chapter of our digital world.